Welcome to 7-Minute Sunday School. Today we're going to talk about the Feast of the Nativity of the Theotokos. Before the invention of modern agricultural techniques, hunger and thirst were a common experience. Each day was spent working hard to produce food and to prepare food. Supplies of food would dwindle as the winter went on. Even in spring, when things began to come alive again, people would have to work diligently to ensure a good harvest. At harvest time, the first fruits would be gathered and offered up in gratitude, and the bounty would be shared by all. For many cultures, the time of the harvest was the sign of the coming of the new year. Harvest festivals have existed in every culture. They were festivals of thanksgiving, in which people showed their gratitude to God or the gods for the end of their time of hunger and thirst. Just as a woman waits expectantly for the birth of her child and suffers pain and hunger in the 9 months leading up to the birth, so the people must toil until the land produces its bounty. And just as the woman experiences joy and relief after the pains of labor, so those who prepared for the harvest experience joy at the arrival of abundance. The Jews celebrated the harvest by remembering events in their history that had this same structure. Their harvest festival was named the Feast of Tabernacles and called to remembrance the conclusion of their 40 years of hunger and thirst in the wilderness, where they had longed for the Promised Land. Just as harvests are new beginnings, this festival marked the new beginning of the people of Israel. It was celebrated for 7 to 8 days, connecting the new creation of the people to the first creation by God in Genesis. The Jewish harvest festival augmented the natural meaning of the time of harvest as represented in every culture. In the same way, the Feast of the Nativity of the Theotokos augments the meaning of the Feast of Tabernacles. According to church tradition, Joachim and Anne were the father and mother of Mary. They were faithful Jews, and their lives represented at a personal level the entire history of the Jewish people. Though they longed for children, they were barren and ashamed of it. They were looked down on by the religious leaders for their inability to bear fruit. While in prayer in separate places, Joachim and Anne were both visited by an angel, who told them that they would bear a child who would be great in the sight of the Lord. Against all hope, they had sowed diligently the seeds of prayer and obedience, and their reward was Mary. In response to this gift of God, Anne promised to consecrate her child to the Lord. Each of the layers of meaning in the feast harmonize with one another. Just as the divine nature of Christ didn't overwhelm his human nature in the incarnation, so the meaning of the feast at one level doesn't overwhelm or destroy the meaning of the feast at another. The Feast of the Nativity of the Theotokos is still a harvest festival, and calls to remembrance all events in Israel's history that align with this pattern. The humanity that Mary inherits from her parents, as her parents inherited from her ancestors, is the diligent fruit of what faithfulness to the law was meant to produce. Mary is thus the boundary line between the old and the new covenants. It is fitting then that the church year begins with this celebration. We celebrate the harvest first. The child was consecrated and protected from corrupting effects of sin by the best that the culture shaped by the law of God could offer. As a microcosm of the Jewish people, this child was to offer herself up freely to God, saying yes to the use of her womb, of her DNA, for the incarnation of the Son of God. And the incarnation is the true food and true drink that we are all longing for. First creation would be created anew in the womb of Mary. Just as first creation was completed in 7 days, and the Feast of Tabernacles lasted 7 days, so the Feast of the Nativity of the Theotokos falls on the 8th day of the new liturgical year. The Blessed Virgin was the first fruits of the harvest that was about to begin. It was specifically and concretely her humanity that Christ assumed, the best we had to offer. She was prepared by her lineage and her life to say yes to God. As such, on the day of her birth, the one who would become the first Christian and the mother of all the living appeared, and our path of salvation mirrors her own. Like Mary, our salvation rests upon the diligent work of those who came before us. But like her, we must say yes to the indwelling presence of God as well. She was the first to say yes to the incarnation. Whenever we say yes to God, we are following after the pattern that she embodied in her life. We will talk more about this yes later, when we come to the Annunciation. However, what is important to note about this feast that is relevant to our lives is that our ability to say yes to God comes from our roots. It is the history of those who have worked with God before us that sets the stage for our own life. Just as the sinful and passionate decisions of our ancestors can negatively affect us, so the faithful and pious choices of our ancestors can build within us a treasury of habits that enable us to say yes to God more easily than we otherwise would. Like all the feasts, the celebration of this feast begins with Great Vespers the previous evening and continues in the morning with Orthros and the Divine Liturgy, where we partake of communion together. Because it is quickly followed by the Feast of the Exaltation of the Cross, there are only 5 days of festivity assigned for this feast specifically. However, the short duration of the celebration doesn't detract from the intended meaning of the day. For just as the resurrection proves the incarnation happened, so without Mary's nativity there would have been no person with the virtue needed to say yes to the Holy Spirit. You will notice that like all the major feasts, it is impossible to just talk about the truths highlighted in one feast without bringing up the others. The events that make Mary's birth so special exist in eternal relation to the events highlighted in the other major feasts of the liturgical cycle. Mary's is Christ's humanity, and it is the humanity that was cared for and watched over by the faithful children of Israel, in anticipation of the coming of the Messiah. Let's celebrate the harvest season with the joy of Joachim and Anne, in remembrance of the Mother of God.